Hello, welcome and good evening for another quick review. This time I got myself a little sports camera. As you can see, this is meant for bicycles and it's one of those tiny action cameras. It's not a GoPro, it's totally no name. I got it off of AliExpress because I wanted to save a bit of money. As usual, I want to do it on the cheap. And I thought, well, the soldering iron last time was pretty good. Maybe this is also worth something. And you can get these for around 30 to 40 euros or US dollars, including shipping. And from the looks of it, it sounds quite reasonable. They do full HD, 30 frames per second. They are watertight. You can mount them on your bike, on your helmet, whatever. And it sounds pretty good. Obviously it won't be as high quality as, for example, the GoPros, which cost something around 300 to 400 euros, and there are a lot of other nice cameras out there. But, well, it says rainproof, suitable for extreme weather, metal case, suitable for extreme environments, built-in vibrator, well, for whatever reason, because it has no display, so that's the feedback. Alert for all mode. Probably bad translation. Mini size, lightweight, easy to carry. And it's got a 5 megapixel wide angle HD lens. So that's for shooting individual pictures, but it can also record video, continuous video, and it will do like 3-minute clips, and I think you can configure that. And it will just roll over. It will delete older stuff, so you can basically use it as a dash cam, which is why I wanted to have this, because commuting with a bike has its perks and also its dangers, and sometimes people will overtake you very dangerously or other stuff happens, and if push comes to shove, it's probably a good idea to have some kind of evidence at hand. I try to be a responsible cyclist and try to keep to the rules and laws as good as I can, but accidents can happen, and then it's probably a good thing to have something like this. It's not necessary, but if you don't have any people vouching for you in such a case, then some video might be handy. So let's unpack this and see what we get. I already used this for a couple of days and can give you some feedback later in the video. So this is the camera itself. It looks pretty nice. It's all metal aluminum case, except for this part here. This is plastic. It comes with this detachable lens cover, so you can clean the glass if you want. There's an O-ring here for water tightness, as well as an O-ring here in the back cap. And if you unscrew the back cap, you will have the SD card, and when you order it, usually they give you the option of supplying you with one of these. This is supposedly a Kingston, might be the case. It has some Chinese hologram sticker on there. Not sure how reliable that is. But yeah, the card seems to be working fine. It uses a non-standard sort of micro USB cable, which is supplied, but I don't think you can get replacements easily for these, so hold on to that. And then there's a switch where you can choose the resolution, 1080 30 fps or 720 60 fps, plus taking single shots versus continuous video. So this is probably the setting that you will use most here, taking videos. And the whole thing works pretty simple. This is the power button, and this is the record button, or the trigger basically. So you hold this for 2 or 3 seconds, and it will vibrate, and a blue light will appear. And if you click the record button once, it will also vibrate and go into record mode, showing it by this red button, a red light. And stopping the recording is as easy as holding this for 2 seconds until it vibrates again. Now it stopped. Now you can attach it to read out the SD card or use an SD card reader, and you can also charge it on your computer or whatever, and you can turn it off by pressing again for 2 seconds and it will turn off. There's also on the back, didn't show you that, there's also a reset switch which I had to use once, which you can poke with a paper clip or something and hold it for 2 or 3 seconds and then it will reset. Sometimes this thing might get stuck. The configuration is done via a config file on the SD card, but we'll come to that later. The whole thing comes with a few attachments. This here you can use in your car, for example, as a dash cam. It comes with double-sided sticky tape. This here is for probably putting it on your helmet, also with sticky tape and some Velcro. And the thing that I use actually is this here for putting it on the front of your bike. And I think this is probably the best thing, because I actually don't want to have it on my helmet. Although having it on your helmet has a couple of advantages, like giving it a bit more dampening, and you can actually point the camera more easily. But on the other hand, it looks a bit silly. You have something sticking out from your head, basically. And well, it uses standard tripod mount. You get this bracket here for attaching here or here. You just screw this on top. And this whole thing is actually pretty sturdy. This bracket here is a bit more flimsy, I would say. So be careful when using that. You can now just simply, I'm not sure which way around, probably like this. Just clamp it down. If I manage to do that correctly. Yeah, like this. And you can tighten this screw here to make it fit. So this is really sturdy. And so nobody steals your nice camera, you can just unclip it and take it with you. That's of course one of the advantages of putting it on your helmet, that you don't have to unclip it every day. Because I'm not sure how long this will last. And since this is totally no-name device, it's probably hard to get replacement parts. Okay, yeah, that's it for the show and tell. Now I will show you the video quality and also how to configure this thing. So when you attach the device or insert your micro SD card, you will find a new mount point Sport TV, and in there you will find sporttv.txt. If you open this file, it will look like this. It will tell you the firmware version and a lot of settings. So you can change stuff like the exposure value here, contrast, saturation, auto white balance, sharpness, etc, etc. The only things that are probably interesting are the light frequency. When you're living in Europe, you have to set this to 1. I didn't do that yet because 0 is 60 Hz and 1 is 50 Hz. And you also want to change the year, month and day, as well as the hour and the minute. This is how you set the time on this device, and it will keep the time as best as it can. And you have to actually change the thing here to yes, the update flag, otherwise it won't do anything. So we have now 2019, April the 2nd, and it is 22:38 local time. Simply save that, put that in the camera and start it. That should do the trick. Alright, other than that, the whole thing just simply looks like a camera. There will be photo and video folders, and as you can see here, I'm using the 3-minute loop recording. You can set this to 3 minutes, 1 minute, 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And it uses seemingly variable bitrate coding because the files are slightly different sizes, and you can just open them. They are MPEG-4 style videos, and I'm gonna mute this because the sound quality is actually pretty bad because you get a lot of noise from the wind. So that's no good, but when you're stationary, the microphone is quite okay. And as you can see, the bitrate is not very high. You see a lot of blocking artifacts here in the trees. This is actually the 720p 60 frames per second mode, I think. Let's check here. Yes, this is 60 frames per second. So this is the smoother animation, but I think the bitrate is too small for that. I did a lot of tests, also some runtime tests. Let's check another video like this one here. This should be 1080p. Oh yes, it is. Let's make it a bit smaller. So this is 30 frames per second. The detail in the trees is a little bit better, but still a lot of blocking blocky noise here at the bottom. So the encoder is definitely using not the highest bitrate. This is 13 megabits per second. I think it could do with quite a bit more. But this is something that you can't really tweak here. I think this is a limitation of the encoder chip, probably not powerful enough for that. Yeah. Maybe a future firmware upgrade will do better, but I wouldn't have high hopes for this. I will put some side-by-side comparison now on the screen for checking what 720p 60 frames per second versus 30 frames per second look like, and also show you some low light nighttime footage. So here you can see side by side now the 60 frames per second 720p and the 1080p 30 frames per second. Granted, the left one looks much smoother, but the detail is definitely much better on the 1080p version. And this is, as I said before, probably due to the low bitrate that this camera encodes with. So this is definitely a weak point, but I think it's good enough for like recording traffic accidents or situations. That should be fine. And yeah, you won't get the best quality, but again, for 30 bucks, that's probably understandable. The low light conditions we will look at in a second, but the main point that annoys me is the low battery life of this device. At most you get an hour of recording time from my experience. However, as soon as the temperatures drop below 12 degrees Celsius or so, and this happens still quite often here in Germany in spring, you will have the device shutting off, because I think the battery will tell, oh, my voltage is low. However, when it's warm, it will function perfectly. Here you see nighttime footage. There's a lot of glare, and although there are street lights, you can't really make out the cars, and so this device is definitely much better for daylight recording. The night recording, this was not that late, but it was already dark, is really suboptimal. You have a lot of noise and grain, as you can see. And you can't make out license plates easily. Maybe the shape and make of the car or of the other people around you. And yeah, as you can see, the traffic light produces a lot of glare due to the landscape, I think. So for nighttime recordings, I would suggest using something different. And you can see some flicker here, because I did not set the light frequency to 50 Hz. It's still set to 60 Hz, so you have some kind of interference here. So make sure that you set it to the right conditions. Alright, you've seen everything that is to this camera. It is relatively nicely made for the price, but the limitations here are definitely the very limited battery life and the problems with cold weather. So working in extreme weather conditions, I think this is not. The technical limitations are there as well, but the whole thing is only 30 euros. I wouldn't recommend buying it except if you maybe live in warm weather and you know you won't use it in cold weather, and be able to charge it whenever necessary. Otherwise, save your money and save up for like a better thing. Like the Ghost X is supposedly very good. That's something that I might get in the future. Or if you can afford even more expensive stuff, things like the GoPro, which also do like streaming and 4K and similar things, are probably way better. But yeah, as I said, as a dash cam this might be nice, very cheap dash cam, or if you are in warm weather, then this is probably okay. But overall, I wouldn't buy this again. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Please share, like, and most important of all, subscribe if you like these videos. Other than that, have a nice evening.